hunt hungry.
Heath, I'm so glad you're here. You are the first world-renowned author on this podcast. So you're the only author at the moment, but therefore you are the world-renowned, top-of-the-line author in this podcast. So your book is called Turkey Trek, My Journey as a Misfit Turkey Hunter. Am I correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Awesome. It was a cool name, a very catching name. When I hear like Misfit Turkey Hunter, I'm like, this is interesting. So before we get into the book too much, I want to learn a little bit about you. I don't want people to watch 30 minutes and be like, I don't know who this person is. So, just tell us a little bit about you. What do you do for a living? Stuff like that.
Well, I live in Exeter, Missouri, down in the southwest corner of the state. Lived here my whole life. Matter of fact, I live in the house I grew up in. So I've lived here literally my whole life. I work at the Walmart home office down in Bentonville, Arkansas. I'm a manager in the insurance division, Walmart Claim Services. I manage the support area. We take care of supporting all of our case managers, adjusters, and whatnot. Been there for 25 years. It's about an hour drive each way, so I must really like it if I've been doing that for 25 years. But so I do that for a living. Otherwise, I hunt and spend time outdoors. And my wife and I have a little homestead here that we raise sheep and chickens and dogs and whatnot. So yeah, that's
awesome. That's a beautiful part of the country over there. Oh, I mean, I'm an Ozark Mountain guy. I don't live in the Ozark Mountains now, but that's where I grew up, and it's the prettiest place. I mean, the Rockies may be prettier, like mountain wise, but the Ozark Mountains, man, are top notch. So you're in a beautiful place up there.
Yeah.
So your book is about turkey hunting. Do you consider yourself more like a turkey hunter or a deer hunter, or just both, or what?
Well, I do both, but my passion's turkey. I grew up hunting deer first. Nobody that I knew, I'll take that back. Nobody in my family turkey hunted, and so deer hunting was a way of life for my family. My dad, he always killed a couple each year, and kept us in meat. It came up not poor, but not rich either. So the meat was very important. And so once I got old enough, I wanted to be like him, and I wanted to deer hunt. So he would let me go along deer hunting, but when it came to turkey hunting, I had nobody.
Yeah.
And I was a very hyper, awkward, twitchy kid. Turns out, 48 years later, I found out that I have autism. But at the time, I was just that weird kid that nobody wanted to take hunting. I was loud. I was loud, twitchy, just awkward. And the only people I knew that turkey hunted were the guys at church and the guys at the sporting goods store up near Cassville, a town next to where I live. And I had to ask all of them every year, hey, will you take me turkey hunting? Because I really wanted to go. And the answer was always a flat no. They absolutely didn't want to take me. And I look, looking back, I can't say I blame them. I was, again, twitchy and loud, and I wouldn't want to take someone like that turkey hunting. So I had to teach myself how to turkey hunt. And I really, really wanted to do it so bad because I'd read about it in Outdoor Life and Field and Stream. And so anyway, long story short, I not to go too deep into it, but I taught myself over the next several years how to turkey hunt. And as you can imagine, with being loud and twitchy, it was tough because I had to overcome that to be able to be successful. But so that was the downside of the autism. The upside is that whenever I get focused on something, I'm hyper focused, right? I get locked in. I mean, I become obsessed, and that's what I was with turkey hunting. So I learned because of that hyper obsession, and because of that, because I was able to teach myself, turkey hunting is my number one passion in this world, next to my faith and family.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I think about it, heck, we may all be a little bit on the spectrum, when you think about it, like I'm out there shooting my bow in 110 degrees, sweating to death,
Yeah.
like, hyper focused on deer hunting, shooting my bow year round. It's like, we're all a little awkward, maybe, like I can see that for sure. So we've all sat in a tree in, the fall and just pondered life and been like, I ought to write a book or something, like just like you think about stories that were important to you. Like, what made you go, I'm going to actually do this. I'm going to write a book about this.
Well, it's funny for me. It was a little bit of a circuitous route to get there because, along with my one of the things, or how I say this, one of the things that I struggle with as with being on the spectrum is social, being social and putting myself out there. I'm very much a private guy. I like to kind of be anonymous. But I love to write and I love telling stories to my friends, but I don't really like being out there in the public eye. And so I started writing things years ago just for fun. And I kind of thought maybe something was wrong with me for writing for fun because it seemed like schoolwork. Um, but I really had a good time doing it. And I shared them with my wife and my family. And I'd post, truncated versions of things that I wrote on Facebook if I got good feedback from it. But I never had any idea that I never really wanted to publish a book by no means. And then after I found out that I was autistic and it things started clicking for me with why I struggled early on the way I did and why I still struggle to this day with going on these hunts and going with groups and just being successful in the field. Because I'm still twitchy. I'm still awkward. And as I got to talking to some people about that and sharing my diagnosis and my struggles, I realized that there was more people out there who struggle with the same thing, which makes sense. I mean, um, I'm 50 years old, and I just found out. I know for a fact that I'm not the only 50-year-old dude out there that just found out he is, or that is, and it maybe hasn't found out yet. And as I've talked to people on Facebook, there's a lot of people who said, well, I struggle with those same things. And a couple of them have actually been diagnosed since we started talking. And I realized that my story could help people because, well, how do I say this? I guess at first, whenever I found out I was autistic, to be honest, I was embarrassed and I didn't tell anybody for a couple months. And then it kind of started coming out. When I saw that it helped people, I was more open about it. And then that kind of blossomed into this idea that, hey, maybe I should take these writings and my story and put it in a book so that people can understand what I've been through. Not that I'm special, but just to know that, hey, someone else has been through this. Someone else struggles with the same thing. They've had the same issues, and uh, maybe it could help somebody. And if anybody that knows me knows that for all my flaws and troubles, I do like to help people. So that was kind of the thrust behind it. Um,
Yeah, I
and
wouldn't I wouldn't peg you as an introvert or awkward or socially awkward just based on your social media. Like your Facebook posts are hilarious. Like you can get
I'm
on there and just go on about stuff on Facebook, like nothing, And I read
it's
every
so
one of
much
them and
easier
laugh.
there. But
Yeah, you're probably right.
whenever you meet me in person, I'm a very I'm 180 difference. I really struggle with that. Matter of fact, a couple years ago, I went down to Florida on an Osceola hunt with Tacticam with Jeff and Tara Peel, Ben Stern, Tom Foreman, and a bunch of them. And I was so excited because this is literally my dream hunt, to go on an Osceola hunt. Because I've always wanted, ever since I became a turkey hunter, I wanted to get a grand slam. But the one leg that seemed absolutely impossible for me was Florida because I couldn't ever afford to go down there on my own and find an outfitter and all that. So anyway, long story short, they let me come with them, so I got to go with them. I was so excited. The 18-hour drive down there, I was just giddy with excitement. I get there, I knock on the door, and I swear those people had to think I was mute for the first 2 days because I couldn't talk to anybody. I just sat there and didn't say much. I was awkward. I mean, it was physically painful for me how awkward it was, and I couldn't get out of it. So yeah, I am so different on social media. I'm very outgoing on social media because it's safer for me. But whenever I meet anybody in public or even people I know, if I mean, it's different with my wife or my folks. or my kids. But if it's a longtime friend that I don't see very often, I'm awkward around them too. It's just one of those things I can't overcome.
Yeah, I think a lot of hunters, I mean, in general, like the job description is get out, get away from people. Like I'm awkward in big groups too. I'm not comfortable in that. I've never been into
Mm-mm.
like a bar scene where a bunch of drunks are around. It's loud. I'm not comfortable in that setting too. So I don't, maybe
Yeah.
I'm on the spectrum too, but so you did the turkey book. Are you going to do any more turkey books or deer hunting books or, you got any plan in the future? Or you just kind of wait it out?
I do. Actually, whenever I wrote this book, the plan was it was going to be just strictly nothing but turkeys. And it mostly is. It's 90% turkeys, but there's a few other stories in there. Um, there was one of my dad taking me. Sorry, there's one of my dad taking me coon hunting as a kid, and you find out a lot in the book about mine and my dad's struggles. Uh, we didn't get along because he was this big tough Superman guy, and I was this weird, loud, twitchy kid, and it just we didn't get along. But we hunting is where we found our common ground. So I talk about that in the book. Some there's a few deer hunts, there's a little bit of coon hunting, a lot of turkey hunting. Um, but the idea was it was just going to be turkeys. After I published it and got some feedback from some people again that said that it really helped them, it made me realize that I might be onto something here, sharing my struggle. Not that I'm special, not that anything about me is really worth reading about, but maybe sharing my struggles and my triumphs could be helpful for some people. So yeah, I'm working already on the second book. I'm a third of the way into it probably. It's going to be much more of a general hunting book. I talk about I went to Idaho this year on a bear hunt. I talk about that, spending that week in camp and how that went. There'll be more about bear hunt or deer hunting, bear hunting, coon hunting, elk hunting, everything. But it's going to be a lot about my being out there and my struggles with my autism out in the public eye. And because over the last few years, with working with Tacticam and Mossy Oak and everything, I'm much more out there in the public doing things at these shows that I used to not do, and that still, if I'm honest, scare the crap out of me. And it'll kind of be about that, because one of the things that I found out as I wrote this first one is, and I honestly never put this together until I started really writing the book out in long form, is that hunting. I've always wondered why I'm so obsessed with it. And I know part of it's because I wanted to be like my dad. Um, I wanted to show him that I was quote unquote normal, Um, but really, it became my refuge. The one place I felt safe was out in the woods, whether I be hunting, camping, hiking, any of that, but especially hunting. Um, it became my refuge with all my anxiety, all the things I struggle with. I could go hunting and put it all aside. And so that's kind of what this next book is about, just about finding my joy and my safety and my happiness in the hunt. There'll be turkey stuff in there again. There'll be a little bit of everything, but it's going to be a much more broad book instead of just a straight focused one like that. There
Yeah.
will be another turkey book too. I've got a whole series planned out here. So
Awesome. Yeah, I think a lot of people can relate to the me and my dad didn't get along when I was a teenager, and that type of
yeah,
stuff. I've got a teenager at home too, so and I've been a teenager, so I can understand that. So
yeah,
without giving too much away, like is this book all life stories? It's all true stories. It's about you. Is that the theme of it all?
yep,
And
yep.
lessons
Everything
learned
in
through
it's
this?
true. I talk about, having to teach myself to hunt. There's a lot of unsuccessful hunts in there from early on and what I learned from them. There's a lot of successful hunts. I talk about my papa. He's the one, him and my dad were the two greatest influences in my life. But whereas I was scared of my dad and there was a gulf between us, with my papa, it was very different. He was my biggest cheerleader. And even though he didn't turkey hunt either, he knew I wanted to. So he basically funded my learning. He bought me my tags, my guns, my shells, my, calls, everything. And so there's a lot about him in there and how he helped me. Um, and then, I talk about whenever I lost him um, how that impacted my life, and how now that I'm a papa of 9 going on 10 grandchildren of my own, how I'm trying to emulate that with them and help them out. Um, but yeah, everything is true, and it's all taken from my life and how I overcame my struggles with this, and how hunting is what facilitated that and made it better, and the people along the way. I tell one story there, and I won't get too deep into the weeds here, but I tell one story in there about a guy that I met while I was out turkey hunting one year out in the woods on the Mark Twain National Forest up here. And I've got a proclivity to call way too much and way too loud. It's again, it's part of my ADHD, I guess. I have a hard time sitting still and being quiet. And so being a loud and aggressive caller has really paid off for me over the years, but it also helps me to, kind of calm those twitches. This guy, I met him and he was the exact opposite. He was younger than me, but he was of the old school train of thought that, hey, call 3 times, shut up, and wait for 15 minutes, then do it again. And it caused some friction between him and me after we became buddies, started hunting together. And there's just a whole long story about him and the final hunt that I had after he passed away, and how it went out. And it was really, to me, it's one of the better stories in the book, because he passed away from a car accident, and then I kind of tried to hunt like he did that last hunt. So it was pretty interesting.
That's pretty cool. Yeah, it's funny you talk about like your ADHD. You call a lot. I was kind of the same way when I was in my 20s, and they're like, "Hey, you can go deer hunting, and you got to be quiet, don't move, don't smell like anything, and you might
Yep.
see a deer." Or you could go out and go duck hunting with a group of guys. You can all talk, shoot the breeze, cook breakfast, drink coffee, have a good time. Wail on a duck call a few times. I'm like, I'm going duck hunting. That's way more fun. So yeah, I definitely get that. That's on my this every year when I start deer hunting, I'm like, I'm gonna get a book and I'm gonna read it while I'm in the woods. And so like the last couple of years I did like Cam Haynes books, stuff like that. Your book's on
Mm-hmm.
my list this year. So when I go out into
Oh,
the
cool.
woods, I'm planning on reading it because I love everything. I mean, I'm not a big turkey hunter. Like I grew up in the Ozarks. We saw turkeys all the time. It wasn't like, oh man, we got to go get those. You'd see turkeys when you deer hunted. You'd see them all the time.
Oh yeah.
So and it was always just like, that's a lot of work for like 2 breasts, turkey breasts. I'm like, they're
Yeah.
delicious. But it was like, man, I'm gonna go hike up that mountain, and be ticks and snakes everywhere so it wasn't ever something that I was like passionate about. I did it some and we killed some, but I wasn't passionate about it. But man, some people really are. So I get it.
Yeah.
So next thing, there's other people out there. I wish we had more people like you who are writing books about their stories. Like I think my philosophy, whether it be on podcasts or authors of outdoor stuff, is that the high tide rises all the boats. So like if you're
Yep.
writing books and the next guy's writing books and everybody's writing books, get more people involved in it. Like the more people that are reading your book are then going to go, well, you know what, I really like that. I'm going to go check out this book. So what do you have for the guy who he may be thinking about doing that? What tips do you might have for them when they start this journey and they go down that, writing a book and getting it published? Any tips you have for them?
Yeah, I would say again, my route was a little bit unconventional. I've talked to a lot of authors leading up to doing my own. Um, I talked to a couple that are, really successful authors, and they did it the traditional way, and it worked great for them. I'm being not traditional myself. Mine was a little bit more uh, unconventional, but I just started writing stuff down whenever the mood would hit me. I'd be, if I'm honest, I wrote a lot of this book on my lunch breaks at work, because, I'm sitting there all day looking at computer monitors, reading spreadsheets, running reports, and I'm, in the back of my mind, I'm thinking about turkey hunting, and so I get these ideas, and so at lunch, I'd be bored, and so I take my MacBook with me. I start writing down stories. I'd never get a full story done during each lunch hour, but I'd get the bones of it, and then the next day I might get hit with a different idea, and I'll start writing it. I ended up having all these stories that I had half written, but that really resonated with me. So I'd go back every once in a while and pick one and finish it out, and but it really stuck with me that the secret to being able to do this for me was just writing down stuff as I thought of it. I'd write these stories, even though I knew I wasn't going to get through it. I could write it, and then I could come back later and do it. But always be ready to write. I wrote, like again on my MacBook at lunch at work, but I would write ideas and things that would pop in my head. I'd write them on my phone on the notes app, setting at a red light. I was always ready to write something down. It's kind of like how a songwriter, will write down, lyrics that pop in their head, or scraps of an idea for a song. I did that with this, and then I just kind of massaged them into this book. But that's my best advice, is just start writing stuff down. It doesn't have to be pretty. I mean, if you read my book, it's not pretty. It flows, and I even mentioned it in the forward. I think it flows a lot like my brain. It's kind of herky jerky. It's not polished like a lot of authors necessarily, but again, that's part of it being authentically me. And the feedback I've gotten from a lot of people is that they kind of
I say in the background.
so, but the feedback I've gotten from a lot of people is that they really they like that, because it shows the authenticity. It shows who I am and how I am. So again, yeah, just always be ready to jot down your ideas and your thoughts. Don't worry if you can't finish something right then and there. I mean, if I had to sit down and write this thing chronologically in just one, long session, or even a chapter in one long session, it might have been tough for me, because I can't stay that focused that long. But yeah, just be ready to don't worry about, I guess what I'm saying is, don't worry about it flow in a certain way. Just be yourself, put yourself on the paper, and then just kind of let it coalesce into this narrative. Worked for me anyway.
Yeah, I think the authentic part is more important than anything. Like when it comes to,
Yeah.
I don't want to read Shakespeare deer hunting, you're
No.
talking about like all perfect English and all that. And I don't, and it's the same way when I watch YouTube, like I like the big name guys, like don't get me wrong, I can't think of them all off the top of my head, but like they have that perfectly manicured video, Sometimes I want to
Yeah.
watch a guy who just got off work, he's worked 8 hours, he's jumping his truck, he's running out in the woods, he's filming with an iPhone. He's shooting Matthew Switchback from 2001, like that.
Yep.
Sometimes that's what I want to see. I don't want to see a guy with a $20,000 camera and a cameraman on private land that's, high fenced or low fenced or whatever. The authentic, normal stuff you can relate to, I think, is more appealing. And that's what I think your
Me
book,
too.
like you're talking about being like authentic, it's not perfect. I know you had a post saying there was some spelling errors. Like, who cares? That's awesome. I don't, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
you're
There'll
not
definitely
getting
be some
graded
spelling
for it.
errors in there.
Who cares? Yeah. I think
And
that's
it's
awesome.
funny, whenever I sent the book to my editor to edit it for me, and just to reread it and make sure I didn't miss anything. I mean, she obviously missed some of the spelling errors too, which made me feel a little bit better. But
Yeah.
there was a few points where she's like, this may come across as harsh, or this may come across as informal or whatever. I'm like, that's the whole point. That's me. So I didn't change. I didn't take her advice on those specific parts. Those I left in there, because I'm trying to write it the same way that I would if. And she did mention this, where she said it sounds like or it reads like you're sitting around the campfire just telling stories to your buddies, and that's what I wanted.
That's
Um,
perfect. Yeah. I mean, that's what you
and
want. Yeah.
and that's
So
what really resonates, I think.
how do you get hooked up with an editor? Like you just Google an editor, or like how do you find someone that's going to be an editor for your book?
So for this book, and I talked to several different authors that I knew, and kind of got their feedback on how they did it. And I knew for this first book, and with me having zero training and zero ability or anything, that I was going to self-publish. I mean, it had to happen this way the first time. So that's what I did. And to do that, I went and I started looking online. I Googled how do I hire a book editor, and where do I find a book editor? And it gave me a few different sites, and I found this one that had a lot of freelance editors. And so I went to it, and I started basically interviewing these editors. I'd reach out to them, say, "Hey, I've written a book on turkey hunting and autism. Would you be interested in editing this?" And I was, if I'm honest, I was a little bit nervous when I did it, because I thought, a lot of these book editors probably are not hunters, so who's going to know how to really edit this book properly? But I found this one lady, and she was fantastic. She wasn't a hunter, but she really liked what I wrote about. She really liked my story. And so as we started the process, I sent her the first chapter for her to do a quick sample for. I had her basically do a sample edit to that, and I really liked what she did, because she understood my vision and what I was going for with the book. And so she gave me her feedback, and it was perfect for what I was looking for. So I just hired her to do the rest of it. Um, I think I don't remember what it cost me, but it was a few $100s um, to get it done, which was a great bargain because sometimes it can cost a lot more to have an editor. But she made me a really good deal because she said she really believed in the project. So
That's awesome.
yeah.
Yeah. That's good. That's good information for people out there that might be thinking about doing the same thing. So
Yeah.
we're fixing to be, deer season's coming. It's coming quick. I saw you were out shooting your bow the other day. So what other projects you got going on, like getting ready for deer season?
Right now, not right right now. I'm doing some mock scrapes. I'm fixing to put in some more food plots here pretty soon. We put some in the spring, but I'm fixing to put some late summer, early fall plots in here pretty soon. Do a lot of brush hogging, just kind of getting ready. We've got 60 acres over here that we hunt, that we own, and we're going to start, again, brush hogging is doing all that there. I've got on that 60 acres, I've got 3 little plots that I seed. One for me that I hunt on, one that my dad hunts on, and then another one kind of in between. And then we've got another place up here. It's a couple 100 acres that we hunt, another farm that is a family friend. And so I've got to go put some more, I got to put a couple more tree stands up there. I've got one right now, but I need to put a few more for this year. And of course, it seems like every day I'm out hanging more trail cans, moving them. I'll hang one and realize that I don't really like where I've got it, so I'll move it. But I think I'm running 9 right now. I've got 2 more to put out. So
Yeah, I relate to that. So like my Ozark land, I think the only thing that grows good up there are rocks. So what are you planting that are actually growing stuff in the
we've got
Ozark
so many
Mountains?
rocks, it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
So what we're planning is we found we had really good luck with radishes and brassicas this last couple of years. Really good luck. It grew. The radishes, we tried turnips, and in some of they grew good, and the deer love the turnips, but it's so rocky that we had a hard time really getting some of them to take. But the radishes, for whatever reason, did better. I guess because they're smaller. So we've been planting radishes and brassica, and a little bit of, we've been throwing some wheat in there with it just to kind of kickstart it, and it's been great. We've kind of been just mixing some different food plot mixes to get those 3 things in there, and it's paying off big time.
Are you actually disking it up, or are you just broadcasting it on the ground, or how do you plant yours? Ours is so rocky, I don't think we could disc it up. It's just mountains.
Ours is crazy rocky, but we still run disc over it to get it as best as we can, and then we run like a para over it to try to drag some of that out. But don't, I mean, we drag out, there's 5 times more next year, and but it's just, it takes 2 or 3 passes to get over it, just to break it up enough, and then we'll broadcast it. We hand seed it. We don't use like a seeder. We just hand seed it.
Are you doing it right now? Is this when you're planting your radishes and brassicas right now?
No, it'll be in August. Right now we're just prepping. We'll start putting it out in August. It seems to be our best one.
Yeah, that makes sense. The only thing we've had luck with is the things that'll grow like in the bed of your truck, wheat and oats, rye, stuff like that. Like, stuff you can just throw on the ground. If you get a little bit of rain, it'll come up. But yeah, I'd love to be able to like put a soybean field in, or some of these things that, these guys in the flatlands are getting to do. But yeah, we don't get
it's a lot different in the Ozarks.
Oh, you're right. You ain't kidding. Man, I appreciate you jumping on and talking with me. I know you got a busy schedule and you're a busy man. Go check out Turkey Trek, My Journey as a Misfit Turkey Hunter. I'll have me a copy in my backpack this fall during deer season. How can people go check out your author page and follow you? How do they get to that?
Well, there's a couple ways. On Facebook, you can look for The Misfit Hunter. That's my author page on Facebook. And that's where I put all my updates on the books and the series and everything. It's a new page just launched. You can do that. You can follow me at Heath Pendergraft on Facebook. And then also at amazon.com/author/Heath, Heathe. There'll be an E at the end of it. And that'll be where my author page on Amazon, where all my books eventually will be. Right now, the one.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I will post all those links in the description so people can get to that and find that quick. Man, I appreciate it. I've enjoyed visiting with you. I know it's dinner time, and I'll get you off here so you can go eat dinner and get back with your family, dude. I appreciate you jumping on here with me and talking with me.
Thank you very much. I had a blast doing it, and thanks for recommending the book. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely, man. See you.